Welcome back to another lecture in medical terminology on the female reproductive system. This is part two of the lecture series where we're going to be focusing on the vocabulary. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, there are a lot of vocabulary words here in this chapter, and while I expect everyone to study all the vocabulary words and to remember them, there are a couple ones that I like to highlight in hoping to narrow some of that studying down a little bit. For easier digestion doesn't mean that I won't test on the other ones, so keep that in mind. We do have here the amnion, which is the innermost membranous sac surrounding the developing fetus, and that would be very important to have for the developing embryo. The areola, as discussed in part 1, is that dark pigmented area surrounding the breast nipple. We do have here the cervix, and that cervix here is the lower neck portion of the uterus. There are two meanings for cervix. In this chapter, the cervix pertains to the female reproductive tract between that of the vagina and that of the uterus, and the other cervix here is the neck, okay, the physical neck here. The clitoris here is sensitive erectile tissue anterior to the opening of the female urethra, and this is analogous to the glans penis in men. We have here the endometrium, and that is the inner mucous membrane lining the uterus. We have here the fallopian tube, which is one of a pair of ducts through which the ovum or the egg cell travels to the uterus, also known as oviduct, named after Gabriello Falloppia, an Italian anatomist. So one of the scientists here had put their name on a structure, and there henceforth we shall call it fallopian tube, so we don't forget the scientist who discovered it. Next one is the fimbriae, which are those finger fringe-like projections at the end of the fallopian tubes. You remember that in part 1 where the fimbriae hovers around that ovary, and at a particular time the egg cell is released out and the fimbriae grabs onto the egg cell and pulls it into the fallopian tube. We have here gestation, and gestation is a period from fertilization of the ovum to birth. That's the whole pregnancy process there. The period of pregnancy, I mean. We have human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG, which is that hormone produced by the placenta to sustain pregnancy by stimulating the ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone. We have here the labia. The labia are the lips of the vagina. We have luteinizing hormone, abbreviated here as LH, which is secreted by the pituitary gland to promote ovulation. We have mammary papilla, which is the nipple of the breast. And then we have menarche, which is the beginning of the first menstrual period and ability to reproduce. Menstruation here is the monthly shedding of the uterine lining. And menopause here is the gradual ending of menstruation. Obstetrics here is the branch of medicine concerned with pregnancy and childbirth. We have here ovulation here, which is the release of the ovum from the ovaries. We have the perineum. Perineum is the area between the anus and the vagina in females. Okay, men also have a perineum, but obviously men do not have that center structure, that vagina region, okay, and so therefore the perineum in men is between the anus and the base of the penis. Okay, for women it's between the anus and the vagina. We have here the placenta, which is the vascular organ attached to the uterine wall during pregnancy, and it allows for the exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and fetal waste products between mother and the fetus. Obviously, the fetus has to release out its waste products to the mother in order for the mother to excrete it out for the fetus. It would be pretty bad if the fetus were to excrete out waste products inside the amniotic sac itself. That would be quite uncomfortable and really, really bad. And so, therefore, it doesn't do so. Puberty here is the point in the life cycle at which sexual characteristics appear and gametes are produced. There are these structures known as secondary sexual characteristics. There are also other structures known as primary sexual characteristics. Primary sexual characteristics here. Primary sexual characteristics are the actual organs themselves, the development of the penis or the development of the female reproductive system, not the development of, but the maturation of those structures. Okay, versus secondary sexual characteristics are, for example, in men, the beard, or more pronounced muscular development, also the deepening of the voice, and hair in the axillary armpit regions as well. Those would be secondary sexual characteristics there. For women, there are also secondary sexual characteristics. For example, the development of the breast, the development of the voice changes as well. Also, many others as well. So there are those primary and secondary sexual characteristics. We have here the uterus, which is the hollow pear-shaped muscular female organ in which the embryo and the fetus develop in, and from which menstruation does occur. The vulva here are all external female genitalia that includes the labia, the hymen, the clitoris, and the vaginal orifice or the opening. So any of the external structures would be known as the vulva. And so that concludes part 2 of this lecture series. I hope that you found it educational. We're going to go ahead, and if you have any comments, let me know, and I will see you in part 3 of this lecture series.